and welcome to the podcast Tiling Connect, hosted by Mark Moskwa. This show is designed to connect people with the best information intended to strengthen the business of tiling. To keep up to date with all the episodes, don't forget to subscribe.
Tiling Connect is brought to you by Lux's Grates, the leaders in aluminium drainage, which are UV stable, rust proof and customisable on site. Available at your local tile or plumbing shop. Hey everybody, Mark here from Tiling Connect. Welcome to today's episode. I have another incredible guest with me today. I have Hanah Mills from Ideal Nutrition, and as we have it in every episode, Mark doesn't like to talk too much and chew up the airtime because that wastes minutes. So I'm going to kick off and say hello, welcome Hanah.
Hello Mark, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for agreeing to come on today. And we're sort of taking a little bit of a, well, let's say, right-hand turn on Tiling Connect today. We haven't touched on the subject of nutrition. Well, mental health we've touched on, but not health as in food and what it can do to the body and that sort of thing. And I think that the audience would really love, or our community would really love, to hear from someone who's an expert in that field. And no better person than Hanah, who I met Hanah roughly around 12 months ago now, and I found Ideal Nutrition online. And I also found that it was very difficult to find awesome nutritionists in the Brisbane area. Now, that might just be my search criteria, I'm not sure. But I found Hanah and she was amazing. She put me on track and excellent follow-up and gave me all of the recipes and the right foods to eat and the portions. And yeah, she was really awesome. So Hanah, thanks for coming on today. I'm going to stop now because I know sometimes I can just really keep going forever.
Absolutely flattered. Thank you so much. That's so kind.
Now, please tell us about Hanah Mills and more about Ideal Nutrition, and more importantly, why do you do what you do?
That's a great question. So yeah, I am an accredited practicing dietitian and sports dietitian. I've been in the industry for a couple of years and working with Ideal for nearly 2.5 years now, and absolutely loving it. Why do I do what I do is a great question. I threw around a couple of different ideas as to what I wanted to be when I grew up, when I left uni, and I found that I kept leading towards the sports and health space. And nutrition just continued to interest me. I was working as a PT at the time, writing blog posts for a website, and kept wanting to talk about nutrition. So studied the degree, and here I am today.
Nice. And where did you study that degree?
Griffith University in Gold Coast.
I was on the Goldie. Okay. Now, you moved from up north. Is it Rocky?
Yeah, good memory.
Yes, I thought so. So you moved from Rockhampton. When did you get down to, did you go from Rockhampton straight to the Gold Coast?
Fresh out of school, 17. Yeah.
Wow. Why did you leave so quickly? What happened?
I was just excited. Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, I don't know why I actually moved to Gold Coast, but I think I actually fell in love with it at schoolies, which is a bit embarrassing to say, but
wow,
it's quite a beautiful area.
Yeah. No, nice. Whatever. There's always things in life that happen, right, that impact what you do. And that was clearly one. It was like, I love this place. It's the sun, sand,
why would
surf.
you not want to live at the beach? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, that's so cool. Well, let's get in. I've got some fantastic questions organised for today, because being not just tiling trade, but certainly being tradespeople, they have challenges, right? And one of them is time, I think, and we'll probably touch on that a bit today, but they're working very fast-paced lives, and they're starting early hours of the morning. They all, majority of them have families, and they're trying to balance and juggle being a sole trader, running a business, running other people, running jobs or projects. And I think there's always a number of things that fall apart throughout their day, and one of them particularly can be nutrition and food. Not saying that necessarily is. So I think if we can use today's platform to help them, I think you're the best person to help us out there and share some stuff. So we've got a whole bunch of questions here to ask, and let's see if we can unpack more about the most, let's say, ideal nutrition supplements and foods to have to get it through the day, week and month, and to improve your health. So I love this first one, and because this is for me as well, but what are some of the convenient portable snack options that provide sort of sustained energy throughout any sort of given workday?
It's a great question. And if you know me or if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I hate cooking. So anything that's convenient, I am there for. When we're thinking about something that's going to sustain us for the workday, we're thinking about something that's not going to spike the blood sugar, right? And then cause us to crash later on. Same with caffeine, that's not going to spike the adrenaline and then drop us later on. So we're looking for things that are basically going to release energy into our system slowly, but also steadily, consistently. So examples of that nutrient alone would be something like a complex carbohydrate, right? Because carbohydrates are the body's preferred source of energy. Okay. And so they will slowly release energy across the day, allowing you to feel fueled but not get that high and low, right? But then when we're thinking about a snack, I'm always a big fan of binding it with our essential nutrients coming from fats and proteins as well. And obviously, if we've got high protein requirements because working out on site all day and using our muscles, or if you're looking to actually grow muscle or maintain muscle, there's high protein requirements as well. So then if we're thinking about a snack, we're like, okay, cool. How can I tick off those nutrients? And as a dietitian, I'll always say, how can I add a little bit of color? So having a look at convenient snacks, I'm a big fan of, for example, cheese and cracker biscuits.
Oh, yeah.
You get a packet of 4, get the low-fat cheese, okay? So, it's a little bit better for your health. And then pair that with some slices of tomato. Boom. You've got your protein, carbs, fats, and a bit of color. Okay. Another example would be like an up and go. Okay. You're getting a bit of protein, bit of carbs, bit of fat, and then pairing that with a piece of fruit. Yeah, another example could be a Carmen's, like the 10-gram protein nut bar. And then you might want to have that with a piece of fruit as well, or even a glass of milk, something, or a cup of juice to keep you going. I always love the YoPros or a Chobani Fit. Those high protein yogurts, they're often lower in calories, and then you can combine them with some fruit, or if you need some extra energy and something that's a little bit more sustainable, you might want to combine it with a bit of granola or fruit and nut mix as well.
Yeah. There's some awesome suggestions. And I love that, right? So to be able to implement that into your life, you really need to be prepared for the week ahead, right? And I'm sure you would agree with that, Hanah, because I often see during the week when I go to the service station and I'm filling up fuel in the van for work, I see a number of tradespeople because I get up early, right? So I'm up at sort of 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. Sometimes I'll be on the road by 6. And you often see tradies in their gear and the first thing they're running towards is the pie sort of area. And there'll be, 4 or 5 cans of Red Bull under one arm, and there'll be a couple of pies and a sausage roll under the other. So clearly, that's not the best way to start your day.
Yeah, well, also thinking about that, okay, is the reason we're going for the Red Bull because we know we're going to get a crash or a slump from the heavy fat food coming from the sausage roll or the pie? When you really think about how these foods make you feel, this is something that I encourage people to do quite often. And it can be hard to be aware of. Okay, cool. I've gone to the servo. And you could do an experiment for yourself for a week, right? You go, on Monday, I'm going to get a pie. On Tuesday, I'm going to get a sandwich. On Wednesday, I'm going to have a Rockaby, like the protein smoothie, and a nut bar. And, experiment with a couple of different things and see how you genuinely feel. And see how you feel a couple of hours after and then a couple of hours after that. If you really care about how you feel, then tuning into that and making adjustments accordingly is going to be really beneficial. I think if we're needing to opt for, such heavy loads of caffeine or sugar hits throughout the day, then maybe we need to reconsider, okay, how much sleep am I getting? How is my food quality? How is my exercise? Take a step back to reflect on the bigger picture as opposed to those quick fixes.
Yeah, awesome feedback. Look, I probably won't offer too much insight into it because I'm not the expert. You are. That's great. So let's move on to another question because I know there's a lot today. So when we look at things like and you've sort of partially answered this already, but when you're trying to find the best nutrients in your food, because obviously these guys are working in physically demanding conditions, what should they look out for when they're trying to identify the best foods to get? If they're planning and they're going shopping and they're doing all the right things, what should they be looking for?
Yeah, great question. When I think about food as a whole, I'm always considering energy first. So how much energy or how many calories or kilojoules am I consuming in a day? That's going to be the most important for, maintaining health and body composition and energy throughout the day. So having a rough understanding of that is good. So you may want to calculate your energy requirements with a calorie calculator, or you may want to, see if you're maintaining your weight. And if you are, then that's usually a pretty good indication that you're meeting your maintenance calories. So I'd start there. Then from there, having a look at, okay, what is making up this energy? So it's so general and generic, but this is something that I wish I looked to before I looked to social media and stuff like that when I was looking to optimize my health, before I did my degree. The Australian Guide to Healthy Eating, that balanced plate where it's got a bit of protein, a bit of fruit, veg, calcium, and what have I missed? Grains.
Great.
Have each of your meals got that? Or think about it in a different way if you kind of want to go, okay, have I got a bit of protein? Have I got a bit of carbs? Have I got a bit of fat? Have I got a bit of fruit and veg? Like I was saying before, the carbs coming from whole grains and fruits, they are going to provide more of that sustained energy across the day, okay? Because they have that fiber with it, it breaks down slowly, so provide that gradual energy. That protein is essential for the body, not just to survive and function properly, but it's going to help repair your muscles and things like that across the day. The fats, they're going to help with healthy cell production and hormone production and nerve conduction and things like that. So trying to get a little bit of each of them. Then comes the question, okay, can I do it through, and if it fits your macro style, where you're kind of getting it from a lot of processed foods.
Yeah.
But if you're just trying to wrap your head around the basics, I would go to that Australian Guide to Healthy Eating, try to get the majority of your energy intake coming from those whole foods. And then as you get more confident over time, then you can become more specific.
Nice. And I'm sure, Hanah, if I ask really nicely, you can share that link with me after the show. And I'll put that in the show
calorie
notes.
calculator?
Yes. Have you got it? Is there like a link to a website?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have one on our website, shameless plug. Just the Ideal Nutrition Calorie Calculator. But I will leave that link, and I'll also leave the link for the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating.
Yeah. That would be awesome, because I'll put that in the show notes later on. And our audiences, like many other audiences and communities, are very busy and they're all fast-paced, but we like to give them, the quick and easy ways to get through to this really cool information. So that would be awesome. Thank you for providing that.
It takes like 10 seconds to calculate. Hey, it's so quick.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Let's talk about dietary specific considerations. Like, I imagine that, and again, I know that some of these questions are going to fold over one to the other, but we're talking about muscle recovery and trying to prevent fatigue. Are there any specific, requirements there that people should consider when working out, in the hot sun, doing the sort of the work that they are?
Absolutely, absolutely. So first, if we're thinking about recovery alone, is going to come back to, okay, am I nailing my energy requirements? If you don't have enough energy on board coming from your calories or kilojoules, then your body doesn't have enough energy to then repair tissue. Okay, you got to think about the way I like to describe it is kind of like construction workers. If we don't have enough bricks to build a building, then you're not going to be able to build that building effectively, right? Or it's going to take a really long time, whatever it is. Yeah. So I would have loved to have used a tiling analogy there, but I don't know heaps about tiling.
Bricks is pretty good.
Yeah. It's that same thing, right? We need to be fueling adequately to then be able to build and repair.
Yep.
So that's the first thing. Second thing is obviously protein requirements. So we know that protein are the building blocks of muscle, and they also support cell and tissue repair as well. So with protein, meeting your daily requirements. So for general health outcomes, we're aiming for 0.8 to 1.2 grams per kilo body weight of protein per day. Okay, so say, for example, someone weighs 100 kilos, the minimum requirement would be 80 grams, the maximum, or that higher end of the range there would be 120 grams. But for people to really support muscle growth and maintenance, say if they're in a slight calorie deficit, then we're looking at the 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilo body weight of protein per day. So that would be the start, and then trying to distribute that protein evenly across the day. The reason that's important is because as your muscles repair throughout the day, they will need amino acids to support that process. So proteins to support that process, right? They need that protein there to kind of pull from to then go, okay, cool, we're going to build this tissue now, right?
Yeah.
So the more we can kind of distribute it across 3 to 6 meals per day, the better.
Yeah.
Then from there, having a look, once again, everyone hates me saying this, or any dietitian saying this, but that diet quality. Are you getting enough fruits and veggies? Because they are going to play key roles in supporting energy levels and the natural processes within the body, but also, getting rid of toxins that may build up and cause a bit of inflammation and, prevent that recovery. They're going to provide heaps of things that will essentially support that process.
Yeah, nice.
Another thing, hydration. Okay, so I feel like I'm just covering off the bases right now, but around 70% of your body is made up of water. So if you are not fueling yourself adequately with that water, then you are not going to support that repair process for your body. So the standard protocol is actually just drink to thirst, because everyone has such different requirements and they have different sweat rates, especially tiling. I'm sure everyone's sweating all day. So as long as your urine is a pale to a clear yellow, or you're just drinking to thirst, hydration should be okay. Finally, And I think I was going to answer this question when you were going to ask about supplements. So, do you want me to answer it now?
No, you go for it. You keep going. It's all right. It's gold.
Okay. So, yeah, then finally we're thinking about electrolytes. So, electrolytes, most people will ask about magnesium. Magnesium can be beneficial for decreasing muscle tension and things like that, and preventing cramps and supporting sleep and stuff if you're deficient. Okay, so you can test that through a blood test and you can see if you're deficient, but if you're not, it's probably not going to do a lot. So if we're thinking about recovery, maybe you want to get a blood test to see where that's at. Outside of that, if you have high sweat rates, and especially if you're a salty sweater, so if you feel salt on your skin, then replenishing through electrolytes like sodium, magnesium, and chloride could be beneficial.
Yeah, right. There's a lot to unpack there, right? A lot of information. So first of all, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I'm learning more about things just speaking to you today than I did previously. If I'm a contractor or if I'm just a person that's listening to this episode, where do I start? Like, what do I do first? Like, if I have literally no idea, I'm listening to all of this great content, how do I first of all measure where I'm at in life with my nutrition and health to be able to then apply all of the wonderful things that you've been sharing today?
Can you repeat that question? Sorry.
Where do I start? So how do I understand where my health is at today? What tests can I do to work out what my levels are like, you know, whether, and it doesn't necessarily need to be weight, but certainly we know the weight impacts on people differently, but how do I know where to start? Like if I'm lost, right? I'm just going, I'm listening to this episode, all of the information is fantastic, but I really don't know even what my levels are like. Should I be taking magnesium? Shouldn't I be taking magnesium? Should I be eating that food? Shouldn't I? Obviously there's ideal nutrition, but yeah, give us a look in, like what is the standard process for someone to go, I really need to start somewhere. What is that starting point?
That's a great question. When someone is trying to see where their health is at, I would always start by recommending, checking in with yourself. Once again, how's your energy levels? How's your sleep? How's your concentration? How are you functioning throughout the day? How are your hunger levels? Checking in on all those things, like your body's natural senses. The next thing I would say is checking in on your weight. Are you weight stable? The third thing, or is your weight trending in the way that you would like it to trend? And then from there, I would actually recommend talking to a dietitian. I was going to say a doctor, but usually they'll overlook certain nutrients and things like that. So I'd probably say talk to a dietitian about your goals and your particular issues, and then they can usually recommend specific blood tests that will align with that. For example, like I recommend most people do a blood test once a year or once every couple of years, obviously more as you get older, but seeing where are your LFTs at? Where is your kidney and liver function test at? Where's your red, white blood cells at? Where's your, in terms of like specific nutrients, I would have a look at cholesterol, fasting blood sugar. You know, they'll tell you a good indicator. All those ones I've mentioned will tell you a good indicator of how your health is going as a whole and how, you know, your body's working. But then from there, maybe you're feeling fatigued quite often. Let's have a look at vitamin B12, iron, maybe even vitamin D. Okay, how's your immune system? Maybe we'll have a look at zinc and vitamin D. Yeah, it's very specific to the individual, but starting with where's your weight at? How are you feeling as a whole? And then, you know, maybe talking to a dietitian to get a little bit more specific recommendations for you from there.
Yeah. No, look, that's awesome. And I highly recommend the whole getting your bloods done or blood tests done regularly. I probably didn't do it early enough in my life, but I don't think it certainly hurt me because I'm alive. But certainly as you get older and, getting bloods done every 12 months, check in on cholesterol. Like I only learned about 12 months ago now that I'm low iron, and I've been giving blood. I've been donating blood now for like 3 or 4 years. The first thing the GP said to me when he found out that I had low iron, he said, stop immediately. And I'm like, I had no idea why. So I'm currently I had an iron infusion about 6 months ago, and I've just been on iron tablets every second day since then, and I'm due to go back for a follow-up exam. Then it's a hard field to navigate your health because a doctor that I went and saw at the hospital, who I was referred to for further follow-ups, said to me, I don't know why you're here. He goes, you're a 46-year-old male, you're in pretty good physical health. You go to the gym 5-6 days a week. You eat pretty healthy, thanks to Hanah Mills. And shameless plug there. And he goes, "You've just got low iron." He goes, "I don't get it." He goes, I want you to get back and start giving blood because we need blood. That's just, we don't have enough and we need more." And it was a really difficult pathway to navigate. And so anyway, I'm having more tests. But the point of the moral of the story is that blood tests can really help you understand how your body's functioning on the inside, which you really don't know until you actually go and get the test done. It's important to have it done on a regular basis. So
Yeah, absolutely.
cool. Hanah, more amazing questions coming up. So quick and easy meals to prepare and get ready for a hard day's work, particularly if you're a tradie. Have you got any tips and tricks on what are some quick and easy meals to prepare to keep eating healthy while you're doing trade, or be it you're working in trade?
Absolutely. I, once again, hate cooking, so don't expect anyone to spend longer than an hour in the kitchen per week. But usually what I recommend is, look, if you do have a day off, say, for example, it's a Sunday, if we're thinking about quick as possible, you might want to have your standard click and collect order ready to go. You want to make sure it ticks off all your nutrients. Boom. Now you don't have to think. You've got all the things ready to go. Go to the shops, grab that. Then what you might want to do is, have a rice cooker at something at home. $14 from Kmart, okay? Prep up your carbs at the start of the week and then prep up a whole heap of mince or chicken. Prep your protein, prep your carb. And then each day you can throw a bag of frozen veg with it. You can add a salad mix to it to keep it a bit more fresh if you'd like to. That's super easy. Or you might want to, do a bit more of a traditional meal prep path that takes a little bit longer than 20 minutes, but maybe it's an hour or two and all of a sudden you've got a lot of really flavoursome meals that you just have to put in the microwave each day, ready to go. Other options, I always recommend, having ready-made meals in the freezer as backup options when you do run out of meal prep. So Strength Meals Co., My Muscle Chef meals, Super Nature Bowls, heaps of those well-balanced meals. Often those ready-made meals do lack vegetables. So once again, if you can add a bit of salad mix or add some frozen veggies, fantastic. But worst comes to worst, we haven't done any prep at all and you don't have any, ready-made meals in the freezer. Maybe it's a matter of getting a rice cup, tuna, and salad mix again. You can grab all of that from Woolworths there that day, ready to go. Or if we're going to the survey, cool, get a salad, get a sandwich, and get a high protein but low sugar milk, like the Rockaby shakes, for example. Yeah, if we're out on the go, those are probably my go-to recommendations.
A brief word from our sponsor. Are you looking for a water drainage solution that serves its purpose and adds a touch of elegance to your space? Lux's Grates are here to revolutionise your indoor and outdoor applications. Whether it's a shower, bathroom, balcony, pool, or any other area, Lux's Grates is the ideal choice. It's quick and easy installation that you can bang out in just over an hour. Their standard grates offer a classic and timeless look, while the next generation style adds a modern twist to your space. Lux's grates are made of high quality anodised aluminium, ensuring durability and longevity. Well, that's awesome. That's pretty cool. Anything that can keep people away from sausage rolls, pies and Red Bull, I think, is a huge victory in the path of nutrition and health for tradies and for other people listening to the program. Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people undervalue ready-made meals. They're probably similar price to what you're going to pay at the servo, but way more nutritious. They can be way more enjoyable. There's heaps of variety and stuff like that. And they're just as easy. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Very cool. We've already sort of spoken about hydration, and I think, you mentioned before about 70% of our body is made up of water, right? And I don't think that, from what I've seen, I don't think enough people drink enough water throughout the day. Is it 3 litres a day? Is that still sort of like the statistic, or am I just plucking a number out of the sky?
It actually just really depends on the individual, right? So say, for example, one person weighs 50 kilos, the other person weighs 100 kilos. Okay, there's a massive variation there in what they would require. Another example would be, say, for example, we've got 2 80-kilo people, but one works in the office all day and the other is out tiling and, sweating all day. Massive variation again. So it is quite individual. And then it also depends on sweat rate. You might be a really sweaty person and I might not be. And so then all of a sudden I don't really need as much water, but you'll need, a decent amount of water to top you up. So it really does depend on the individual, but that's why, current recommendations are just drink to thirst, make sure your urine is a pale to a clear yellow, You can do sweat rate testing, but that's usually what we recommend for athletes, and it's probably a little bit extreme in these scenarios. So
I don't know. There's a few, pretty good tiling influencers out there on Instagram. I reckon they're athletes. With the content that they're pumping out there, they could be.
Maybe we get them to try a sweat rate test.
Yeah, because I reckon that there's a few guys in Melbourne. They got 200,000 plus followers. They have to be athletes, right? I mean, seriously, you can't get that many followers and not be an athlete.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, maybe we start experimenting, Mark.
We could do that. Absolutely. Well, that's part 2. We'll definitely look at that.
Come back, tune in next time for our sweat rate.
Check out the results. That's so cool. No, that's cool. Apart from water, though, in terms of hydration, we all know that sort of water is the most common source of hydration. Are there any other things that people can consider? I mean, obviously you want to steer away from caffeine because it's not a hydration product, but are there other things that they should consider, like, electrolytes and drink and, like the sports drinks and things like that? Do they contribute towards good hydration?
Absolutely. And like specifically sodium, right, can help with the absorption of water inside of the body. Once again, I would pick and choose, depending on the individual. So say, for example, we've got high blood pressure or hypertension, then steering away from high sodium products is probably a good idea. But maybe we're in a healthy body, there's no chronic disease present, and quite active, and you're quite a heavy sweater, then, replenishing with electrolytes could be beneficial because it can help with that absorption. Now, the research is a little bit mixed on whether we need electrolytes because we get so many electrolytes through our diet alone. Okay, so say, for example, 70% of Australia's sodium intake actually comes from packaged foods. So we eat a lot of packaged foods. Naturally, we're probably going to hit our sodium requirements. Chloride, magnesium, things like that. If you're meeting your fruits and veggie requirements, you're probably meeting those requirements as well. So for the average person, I don't usually recommend electrolytes. However, if you're sweating for greater than 4 hours per day quite heavily, then it may be beneficial. Okay. Once again, especially if you're a salty sweater. So if you can, when I finish a run, I can literally dust the salt off my arms. Like, it's pretty insane. Yeah. If you're at that end of the extreme, topping up on electrolyte-based drinks can be beneficial. But if not, having those electrolytes isn't bad. It's just going to make a little bit more expensive water. But what we do find is that people often keep up with their hydration or their water requirements more when they're having a flavoursome drink. For example, Diet Cordial, or for example, electrolyte drinks like Powerade or Gatorade and stuff like that.
Awesome. So choose that and park the Red Bull, everybody. That's the key message for today. Red Bulls are okay on an occasional basis, not every day. Like I see some people at servos doing 4 packs. My God, I don't know how they survive.
Each their own. Caffeine, it can be beneficial. But I think when you're reliant on it, it's kind of like, okay, cool. Can we have a look at other factors that can optimize our energy throughout the day as opposed to caffeine? But I'm not against a little bit of caffeine.
Oh, no, I'm not against
Especially
it.
if it's a sugar-free energy drink.
Yeah, I'm not a hater. Like, I love caffeine. I'm sort of just like, swap it out, have some broccoli or something.
Potato, same thing, really.
So we talked a little bit about supplements and vitamins before, and you mentioned specifically protein or having protein. And I know this is one of the things that we touched on with me as well about having protein powders and things. What are your sort of recommendations for people? It doesn't need to specifically be trade orientated, but what are your recommendations for people in terms of having the right levels of protein and stuff to have a correct balance in this whole mix of nutrition?
Yeah, so usually, like I said before, we're aiming for the 0.8 to 1.2 grams per kilo body weight of protein per day to maintain health. And obviously opting for the higher, so the 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilo body weight of protein per day for someone who's looking to grow or maintain muscle. Usually what I recommend is trying to go for whole foods first. So trying to get your protein in through, meats and high protein fortified carbohydrate products like the bread and pizza bases and wraps out there these days. Adding plant-based.
Sorry, Hanah. I didn't mean to interrupt. You said something really important then. So when you say meats, you're talking like, is red meat obviously the best, or red meats are the best to have for high protein?
Not necessarily. No.
No? Okay.
No. In fact, red meat is often high in saturated fats. If you're taking off the fats from the red meat and opting for more of that lean source, then it's okay. But no, same thing, like everything in moderation. A lot of the guidelines recommend, keeping it to a max of 2 to 3 serves of red meat per week, and then just trying to get in your omega-3 rich protein like salmon in 2 to 3 times a week, and then opting for more of that lean white meat like fish or chicken, or even plant-based protein sources for the rest of the week like tofu and tempeh and TVP. That's just because like each of those types of proteins contain different types of nutrients. And so if you think about like, instead of overthinking, I need to top up on this nutrient, I need to top up on this nutrient, I need to top up on this nutrient, by aiming for a variety of whole foods each week, then you can naturally top up those requirements. For example, for you, Mark, where you're looking to optimize your iron, getting those 3 serves of red meat in per week is going to be beneficial. But then if we're thinking about your health as a whole, getting the omega-3 in through the salmon is also going to be beneficial. So each of those food types will play a different role inside of the body. So neither is better than another. Just aiming for that variety each day is going to be beneficial.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. This is a really good question, actually. This came in from a listener, and it wasn't me that created it, but they asked, what strategies can I use to resist unhealthy food cravings while working long hours? I think it's a great question. Hanah?
I think it's a fantastic question, and something that I feel like I should talk about more on my Instagram. What I want to use today is a very extreme example, because I think extreme examples put things in a perspective for people, and then we can work backwards from there. The extreme example I'm going to use is binge eating disorder. So binge eating disorder is obviously the most extreme, where, people get to a situation where they can't control themselves over their food, and they end up eating copious amounts of food way past the point of fullness. So the ways that we manage that is through a RAVES model, okay? And we start with regularity. The research shows that by eating regularly, you are able to prevent that overeating later on. Okay, so if you think about, for example, Mark, if I were to take your breakfast and your lunch away from you, by dinner time, you are going to be ravenous. You're going to eat anything that you can see, right? I used to be the same. When I started working full-time, this is a funny story, but like when I started working full-time as a dietitian, I would get one lunch break, and I would have to fit in like, I don't know, up to 16 clients a day. It was a lot of clients.
Wow.
One, half an hour lunch break in the middle. And so I get one lunch break, and then by the time I got home, I would eat the entire pantry. But as soon as I had a snack, so I would actually start to have a snack on my drive home, and I would only eat half the pantry. It's a metaphor, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
By eating regularly, you're able to manage your hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin, okay, and basically tell them that you've had food, you're going to get food soon.
Yep.
Naturally, that can calm your thinking and craving around different foods, because you know that you're going to be satiated later. The second thing I want to add there, and in line with the RAVES model, is adequacy. So that's the next step. You know that after a balanced meal, you are way less likely to crave things than what you are if you were to just have, so say for example, for breakfast, you just had white bread with a bit of butter on it.
Yep.
Okay. 10 minutes time, you're going to be like, oh yeah, there's a bit of cake there, or there's a sausage roll there. Like, you know what I mean? And you're going to be thinking about it more, okay, because that's your hunger hormones kicking in. But you're also naturally going to be hungry still, because you haven't satiated your stomach, you haven't satisfied your stomach, and you haven't satisfied your hunger hormones. So by having that balance of the protein, carbs, fats, and a bit of veg, or a bit of color coming from fruit as well, you are then able to satisfy your hunger hormones, satisfy your stomach, and genuinely feel good, and then think about that food less.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, and like for example, for yourself, like if you have a decent meal, you're like, oh yeah, I could have dessert, I could not, like I don't really mind. But if you're still hungry, you're way more likely to have that food. The next thing I will say, it's also kind of in line with the RAVES model, is so V is variety, it's the next step, but I just kind of want to bring this into a more of a practical application. When you restrict yourself from certain food types, you are going to crave them more. Think about, like, go back to your childhood instincts, right? Think about when you were a child and your mom was like, don't touch this. What are you going to do? You're going to want to touch it, whatever it is. You always want what you can't have. So that same thing goes with food. If you tell yourself, I can't have chocolate, you're going to want chocolate so much more. Okay, so when you notice those cravings pop up, have that food that you feel like. Don't allow that craving to build up, and then don't allow the guilt, I know this is easier said than done, but to manifest or fester after having that food. It's just food. We're allowed to have all the different types of food. Obviously, it's best if we're fueling ourselves, but treats are also important.
Yeah. So one thing, when you and I first met, that was the one thing that I really enjoyed was the fact that you brought treats into the conversation, and I like it. Not to say that was the only thing that I took away from our meetings, because I've applied everything else, of course. But certainly having a balance and, having, reward, it's sort of a reward, right? Because you work your ass off typically when you're trying to build the right plate of food to eat, to have the right nutrition, to have the right energy levels, to have the right output and that sort of thing. So it's good to be able to sit back and go, you know what, I'm just going to have that ice cream because I deserve it.
100%, 100%. And I think that's something a lot of my clients say is that they're like, oh my God, like I can have these lollies, I can have this. And it's like, yeah, why can't you? You know what I mean? Like if majority of your diet's like balanced, like, what's a little bit of lollies or chocolate going to do, Fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. That's cool. Cool and it's relevant. Hanah, we're sort of getting towards the end of the program. I've got a couple of really cool questions I want to ask. We've already covered that off. So when we talk about food, nutrition, selecting all of the right foods, there's all of these labels and sort of stuff on products that make it really challenging to understand what to choose. Are there any sort of tips that you can provide that would help people make better or more informed choices about prepackaged foods?
Yes. Where I would start is not looking at the marketing. That's actually probably where I would start. Or maybe, take a glimpse and then turn it over. Okay. What's the first thing that we're looking for when we turn it over? I would start with the ingredients list. So the ingredients list is actually written in order of the most prevalent food in that product to the least prevalent food in that product. So if the first ingredient is water, the majority of that product's water, right? And it goes down from there. So that is a really good way of kind of going, okay, how much is this a whole food? The second thing, how many ingredients are there? The less ingredients, the more of a whole food it's likely going to be. Once again, the more whole foods we can have, the better.
Yeah.
That's where I would start. Then the next place I would go to is the nutrition label. I'm going to talk about from the perspective of comparing products because, unless you know your individual requirements and your individual requirements for snacks and meals, it can be hard to know what you're looking for. But if you're comparing different products, okay, where I would start with is, okay, are we looking to gain, maintain, or lose weight? The first section is that energy section. Then, if you're looking to gain weight, you want to have the highest amount of energy per 100 grams. If you're looking to lose weight, you want to have the product that has the lowest amount of energy per 100 grams. If you're looking to maintain, go in between, don't overthink it. Then from there, the next section is protein. Okay, like I was talking about before, protein is going to help keep us fuller for longer and slowly release those nutrients throughout the day. So getting a decent amount of protein in, once again, comparing between the products and going, which product is higher in protein, go for that one. Next ones from a health perspective, I would go, okay, opt for the products that are lower in sugar and saturated fat. So obviously those, over time can build up and, be less beneficial for health. And then finally, I would also always recommend opting for the product that's higher in fiber because fiber helps with heaps of important roles inside of the body.
Nice. That's awesome. Geez, you're like an encyclopedia of health. Do you know, you can literally rattle this stuff off without even looking at anything at all. That's great. You remind me of me when I was younger. I worked in the pizza industry for a long time when I first started my life. It was sort of like when you learn how to make pizzas, it's sort of one of those things. You start out as a kitchen hand generally when you work in a pizza place. And this is going back a long time ago. I'm not going to tell you what the year is, but you learn about all the ingredients, and then you learn how to construct the pizzas from the base to the sauce to all of the other ingredients, and then put it from its make facility into the oven. But over many years working in that industry, I ended up becoming franchise trainer for the business. So I would actually train all of the new franchisees that come through. And I was very young at that time. I was only 20-year-old, I think. And I was the youngest person ever in the business to actually hold that position. But certainly it was pretty cool. And I remember being able to just, everybody would come to me and ask me a question about, the business and about the franchise and how it operated and whether it was opening the store or whether it was making a pizza or whether it was ordering food. And I just knew information. It was like, it's like a filing cabinet in my mind and I could just pull it out. You remind me of me a long time ago. So thank you for sharing all this information today. You've been incredible. I want to finish off today asking you, though, what does 2024 look like for you? How has the year started? It's only just kicked off. And what's going on personally and professionally, if you feel like sharing a little bit more about you and what you're going to do this year and what are your big dreams and goals for 2024?
I think this is such a beautiful question. So thank you for asking. For me this year, for a long time, I've wanted to work with a professional sporting team. I'm also a sports dietitian, so I want to somehow get my foot in the door there and, whatever it is and get out on the field a little bit more and be a bit more hands-on.
Nice.
I love public speaking, so hopefully, do a presentation each month or something like that would be cool. We are also, like I was talking to you off air before, starting a podcast. Yeah, so we're also starting a podcast called Insights with Ideal Nutrition, where I'm going to be interviewing different nutrition experts on the latest nutrition topics. So I'm going to be getting that up and running, which is exciting. And then hopefully, continue seeing my beautiful clients and making lots of Instagram posts.
That's really cool. It is a pretty full-on year, and that's awesome. That's some really big, what I call BHAG moments for 2024, big, hairy, audacious goals. So you've got a lot on your plate, and I'm sure you'll kick goals every time you have a crack at each and every single one of them. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, Hanah, that's it for today. And I really want to thank you for being on the show. And I also want to extend an invitation to you because a lot of people listen to that are a part of our community, and it's growing so much every day. People love to connect in with the guests that come on the show. How do people reach out to you directly and or Ideal Nutrition if they want to start that journey of health? Give us a look on how they can do that.
First, I just want to say thank you so much for the kind words. Yeah, I would love to work with anyone as part of your team, but essentially through the website is the Ideal Nutrition website, and you can always click the booking link there, like to work with one of us, but also just my Instagram, Hanah Mills, Hanah with one N. My parents made that one difficult. But yeah, so out on Instagram, my DMs are always open if you have any questions.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I will make sure that all of that is put into the show notes. And again, thank you so much for being on the show today. We really enjoyed having you on. And as every show wraps up, until next time, stay connected.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Hanah.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Tiling Connect. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast. To see more of Tiling Connect, jump on our socials and follow us via LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook. If you'd like to be part of the show, email us at tilingconnect@gmail.com. Until next time, stay connected.